We are here today to announce that we are seeking the resentencing of Jerome Nunn, a man who has demonstrated the power of transformation over the last 28 years he has spent in prison. We are proud to have him here with us today. The same day we filed a petition asking the court to reduce his sentence. We believe this is the first such petition filed in the state of Minnesota since the Minnesota legislature created prosecutor-initiated sentencing adjustment, which we refer to as PISA, in 2023. PISA allows prosecutors to request sentencing reductions where an individual has clearly demonstrated both that they are rehabilitated and that further incarceration is no longer in the interest of justice or public safety. We believe all are true of Jerome Nunn. Minnesota is the 6th state to provide prosecutors this type of resentencing tool. The PISA statute was supported by 2 of the state's largest victims' rights coalition, Violence Free Minnesota and the Minnesota Coalition Against Sexual Abuse, as well as the Department of Corrections, whose commissioner, Paul Schnell, stated that in order to, quote, transform lives for a safer Minnesota, we must recognize when the length of someone's sentence imposes undue hardships on them and take into account their efforts to rehabilitate and become productive members of our communities. We also agree with the Department of Corrections that PISA will help address some of the startling disparities in our system of justice and incarceration. Before asking for this sentence adjustment, we carefully reviewed our internal case file, Mr. Nunn's criminal history, and 28 years of prison records from the Department of Corrections. We also made good faith efforts to notify victims and consider what impact a sentence change might have on them. All are required by law and essential steps of this process. In the petition we filed today, we are asking the court to reduce Mr. Nunn's sentence to time served because he has turned his life around in a manner that is nothing short of remarkable. He has spent the last 28 years rehabilitating himself and improving not only his life, but the lives of others. Jerome Nunn entered prison in 1995 when he was 19 years old to serve a life sentence for the murder of Abdul Poe and a consecutive 180-month sentence for the attempted murder of John Holmes. There is no doubt that the crime Jerome committed was terrible. At the same time, his life history also mirrored what we see too often in young people who enter the legal system. When Jerome committed this crime, he had a 5th grade education. His mother became addicted to pain medication after an accident when he was 10 years old, and he became his own provider at the age of 13. Over the nearly 3 decades in prison that followed, Mr. Nunn worked hard and turned his life around. He earned multiple degrees and became an ordained minister. He earned dozens of certificates from the Department of Corrections and completed extensive programming. He is now a community leader and mentor inside and outside of prison walls. He has also taken his experiences and what he learned during his incarceration to develop programming for the Department of Corrections about restorative justice. Recognizing his remarkable efforts at rehabilitation, the Department of Correction transitioned Mr. Nunn to work release in 2023. Since his transition to work release in 2023, Mr. Nunn has continued to better himself and the community. He currently works at a nonprofit organization as a reentry specialist, where his manager has reported that he arrives at work every day with a smile on his face, as he helps other people with criminal records find meaningful jobs and services as they reenter their communities. Danielle Jones, the extraordinary mother of the deceased victim in this case, Abdul Poe, has forgiven Nunn and supports his full and free return to society. Her attorney, Laura Nyrider, is here today on her behalf. We want to express our profound admiration for Danielle Jones. We cannot imagine the pain she has felt since the loss of her son, Abdul. But she found it in her heart to forgive Mr. Nunn. And nearly 20 years ago, she, quote, officially adopted Mr. Nunn as her spiritual son. The two have written and spoken frequently, sharing details about their lives and families. Jones has been advocating for Mr. Nunn's release since 2014, when she wrote, "I am pleading with you for Jerome's sentence to be changed to time served and for him to be granted an immediate release and come out of prison as soon as possible." We agree. And now that we have filed our petition, it is up to the judge to decide whether there are substantial and compelling reasons to grant Mr. Nunn relief under the PISA statute. Protecting public safety does not end at sentencing. Circumstances can change over time, and so can people. When an individual like Jerome Nunn has done such hard work to rehabilitate himself and has proven he won't endanger public safety, this law gives us a tool to help consider sentences like his in a fair and transparent way. It is always the responsibility of a prosecutor to seek justice. There are a number of people here with me today, and I'd like to introduce them before Ms. Nyrider comes up to speak. David Singleton is Mr. Nunn's lawyer, who has been working for Mr. Nunn's release for many, many years. Mr. Nunn's sister, Serena Nunn McCullers, is a lawyer and advocate for her brother. She's right there, taking video of everything, is also with us. Also here is Mike Wynn, President and CEO of Emerge, a nonprofit organization that, among its many programs, provides vital re-entry services to formerly incarcerated individuals. Mr. Nunn now works for Emerge as part of their re-entry workforce team. We are also fortunate to be working on PISA with two talented attorneys from the University of St. Thomas Law School, Monique Salvetti and Piper Wold, tucked in the back there. Piper and Monique assist our office in evaluating cases for PISA and have put a lot of time and effort into the petition we are filing on behalf of Mr. Nunn today. I want to thank all of you for your important work on these cases. And finally, I want to recognize the members of our office's PISA team, who have worked to get PISA off the ground in Hennepin County for the past year. Claire Deagle, Cole Beaton, right behind me, Travis Sigafus, and Tiana Nelson. Thank you.
And Jill Barretto.
And Jill Barretto. And Jill Barretto. Thank you so much. You've worked really, really hard on this case and others. We are grateful that the legislature has given prosecutors around the state the power to seek sentence adjustments when needed. And we hope the court grants our request and releases Mr. Nunn. Ms. Nyrider?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Laura Nyrider, and it's one of the privileges of my career to represent Danielle Jones, the mother in this case of the victim. Ms. Jones is unable to attend today, but she's asked me to pass along a message from her. Almost 30 years ago, Ms. Jones lost her beloved son, Abdul. As any parent can imagine, she was heartbroken and angry. At the time, Ms. Jones strongly supported the conviction and sentence of Mr. Nunn, and she was grateful that the Hennepin County Attorney's Office recognized her pain and supported her throughout the trial. Fast forward several years after Mr. Nunn went to prison. Ms. Jones, who today is a pastor, well, she had a long conversation with God. She left that conversation believing that it was her Christian duty to forgive Jerome Nunn. So Ms. Jones wrote Mr. Nunn a letter expressing her forgiveness and telling him she prayed for his redemption. What she did not expect was the letter that he wrote back, an agonized, heartfelt apology. She thought about it, and she wrote back. Over time, they began corresponding, and over many years, Ms. Jones actually got to know Jerome Nunn. She got to know the person he was becoming, a deeply repentant man who had also come to find God, a leader and a mentor of other men behind bars, an educated and humble man who never forgot the debt he owed her. She realized the adult Jerome Nunn had almost nothing in common with a lost teenager who had shot her son so many years ago. Over the course of 30 years, Mr. Nunn earned Danielle Jones' trust. She knows that he has moved far beyond the past. She respects him now. They pray together. She even, as you heard, she even calls him her spiritual son. And Ms. Jones knows that he will do more good in the world as a free man, and that the world will benefit from his freedom. Now, she is calling for his liberty. Recently, Ms. Jones asked the Hennepin County Attorney's Office to continue supporting her wishes, just as it did 30 years ago. By filing today's motion, the office does just that. Danielle Jones supports today's motion unconditionally. She knows better than perhaps any of us here how much Jerome Nunn has earned it. She wishes to express her gratitude today to the office for its support throughout all of these years.
Thank you, Laura. My name is David Singleton, and for the past 5 years, I have had the privilege and the honor to represent Jerome Nunn. Jerome's case is one of the most extraordinary ones that I have been involved in my 33 years of being a lawyer. There are 3 things that make this case really special. The first is the support that Jerome has from Danielle Jones. As you know, she is the mother of Abdul Poe, the man that Jerome killed. Danielle Jones exemplifies forgiveness and grace, and for that, we are eternally grateful to her. The second thing that makes this case special is the support that Jerome has received from the Hennepin County Attorney's Office. Support that began with Mary Moriarty's predecessor, Mike Freeman and John Schmidt, and continues to this day. And Mary, I just want to thank you and your entire team, including the folks at St. Thomas School of Law, for your passionate and dedicated support and work on this motion. In fact, the support that Jerome had from both Ms. Jones and from the prosecutor's office is the reason why Jerome received a commutation from the Board of Pardons that allowed him to be on work release. And it is that support that we hope will get Jerome across the finish line to a place of unconditional freedom where he can benefit this community as he knows he can do. The third thing that makes this case really special is the man standing behind me to my right, Jerome Nunn. His story is partly about a 15-year-old school dropout who lacked a male role model in his life and was drawn to life in the streets. His story is partly about a 19-year-old young man who shot and killed Abdul Poe and wounded John Holmes. But his story doesn't end there. Jerome Nunn's story is also about a young man who went to prison and found hope and purpose. It's about a man who transformed himself behind bars and grew in to the man that he is today. Jerome Nunn is a man who has earned 3 college degrees, a man who is an ordained minister, as you heard Mary Moriarty say, a man who now helps people coming out of prison reintegrate into the community. He's a man who helped build the restorative justice program that the Department of Corrections uses. And he's a man who today goes back into prison to inspire and give hope to incarcerated men and women. And it is this man, Jerome Nunn, whose sole purpose now is to give back to the community and repair the harm that he caused nearly 30 years ago. Okay?
Good morning. My name is Mike Wynne, W-Y-N-N-E. I'm the president and CEO of Emerge in Minneapolis. And Emerge is a community organization that is about revealing the potential in people to build economic opportunities. A major component of this work is to provide programs, services, and second chances for people leaving incarceration. I'm here today on behalf of the entire team at Emerge, several of whom are out of town today, but who wanted to be here and are certainly here in spirit to support Jerome Nunn. Jerome provides us all with a great example of restorative redemption. Jerome came to Emerge last year, shortly after his release from prison, to participate in our reentry program. He accomplished many goals quickly, and then through his own initiative, ultimately won an opportunity to become a staff member of our organization within about 6 months' time. I'll note that to become a staff member, that's an unusual speed to graduate from being a participant in a program to being on the staff, but it was plain to see that Jerome stood out. It's easy to see through his own difficult journey that he has transformed himself into a compassionate leader, humble, decent, generous, with an infectious passion and positivity for doing good work in the world, reaching back to help and mentor others and teaching from his own experience. That energy shows up every day in Jerome's work as a reentry coach at Emerge. He is all about making amends and creating a balance in our community, and he works with intention and urgency to do so. Already he's helped dozens of formerly incarcerated adults connect to resources and opportunities, as well as being an important member of a dynamic team that does this work at Emerge. He's doing it with a level of kindness, hard work, honesty, and enthusiasm that is truly unique. I can't think of a better person on a better track to do right by this opportunity to have his sentence adjusted to completion. Our organization is proud of Jerome and his accomplishments, and we look forward to many great things he plans to do to pay it forward in our community. And I thank you, and I'm very pleased to be here.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate the comments and everything you have witnessed from me. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. I thank God today for this day. Even more, I thank God for Danielle Jones, and her love, her compassion, and her forgiveness for me. It is completely divine. There is nothing I ever experienced on that level. And it's just a divine demonstration. I thank the entire team for their work, for their direction. Even more, I just thank you for hearing Danielle's voice. And not only that, but taking the steps to hear a reasoning why she wanted to do and why she want to see me completely done. So I thank my family. I thank my church. I thank the greater community, because I'm not who I am without them. They continue to pour in me, continue to make a way for me, and continue to give me opportunity to grow. Again, each day I'm accountable for my actions to my community, to my victims, and to my family. Every day I get up to make a difference. Every day I am grateful to have the opportunity to make a difference. I stand appreciative. I stand grateful. And I continue want to be able to create no more harm in the community. I continually want to make a difference in people's lives who come from obstacles, barriers, and hard backgrounds. I'm here today to continue forward, paying atonement for my actions, always mindful of the hurt I have caused the community, but always mindful I can help heal the community too. So my thought and my hope and my prayer is, and I believe it's my hope and prayer of my church, and I believe it's the hope and prayer of my community, and it's the hope and prayer of my family, and I believe it's the hope and prayer of this entire team, that the judge will agree, and not only just agree with the petition, but support Danielle's request. I know that this is just a step to the goal, but I hope that the judge agrees with the petition, and more so, supports Danielle's request. I'm here to make a difference as an emerged leader in our state. I want to continue to help others and work with others to do great things in this state. Thank you.
Questions?
So your court date says,
The statute requires, the judge to schedule a hearing, but not sooner than 60 days before the service of the petition. So we'd expect potentially a hearing within the next, 60 to 90 days on the petition.
This is the first one. Are we expecting, this past last year, you've got about a year's time frame when this passed to when this first one actually came. Are we expecting a similar time frame to introduce another petition like this, or we have things already in the works, or how does that look right now?
The question is about when might we see another petition? And the law passed a year ago, and it's been a year to get to this point. Thank you for that. This was brand new legislation in Minnesota. The statute gave some specifics and some leeway. And I'm very proud of our team here. They spent a lot of time looking around the country and looking at those other states that have this. They spent a lot of time getting the data from the Department of Corrections, looking at the people in prison. And so it's really important to all of us that this process have integrity. And it's transparent. And so they are working on other cases. I can't give you a timeline, but that length of time was really about creating a process that had never existed here and creating it with integrity.